With me now to discuss from Senate Homeland Security Committee, Senator Ron Johnson. Senator, good to see you. Thank you for being here. So this posting by the president last night seemed to contradict the Israelis' intention to wipe out Hamas by continuing the war. What did you make of that?
Well, just to start there, to continue down the path of terror, did he say? I mean, the terrorists are Hamas. I mean, the brutal slaughter was Hamas against innocent Israeli citizens. Now, I try and remind people, 1,400 Israelis as a percentage of the population would be like almost 50,000 Americans. You can imagine what the American public would demand of our government if 50,000 Americans were brutally slaughtered the way those Israelis were. So we have to support Israel. This president should be supporting Israel in their ability to defend themselves. And the only way they can do that long term is destroy Hamas. Let's face it, they had a multi-year ceasefire when Israel turned Gaza over to the Palestinians. They elected Hamas. They built the tunnels. They carried out the terrorist attack. We need to understand that reality.
Senator, I don't understand, though, the switch. It's a dramatic change from what he was saying just a month ago. Shortly after the terror attack of October 7th, he said, we have to be crystal clear. There is no justification for terrorism. My commitment to Israel's security and the safety of Jewish people is unshakable. The United States has Israel's back. Well, it doesn't look like he has their back anymore.
Well, that was until the radical left started putting more and more pressure on President Biden, who's also part of the radical left. I mean, it is sick that you have dozens of universities where you have students that are protesting in support of Hamas, of those brutal murderers. But this shows you what has happened to our university system as the radical left took over them in the mid-'60s, and they've been indoctrinating our children ever since. This is the result.
Here's what Senator Tuberville said last night on Fox Business about not just the president, but the entire Democratic Party and their, again, seeming shift to the very far left of their Democratic Party. Roll tape.
The Democrats are trying to ride the fence. They're trying to play both sides. They care nothing about the American people or the people of Israel or the people of Palestine. They care about votes. They care about power. Don't do anything to get in their way to take away votes from them. And you're exactly right. What happened to the American hostages? Did Joe Biden ever mention that? Does anybody ever mention that? Kirby? It's embarrassing.
You know, you did have Senator Schumer stand up against anti-Semitism this morning, but it sounds like he's more and more being isolated by the far left of his party.
Well, first of all, Senator Tuberville exactly right. This is all about power. This is about getting votes, and they're going to continue to cater, using identity politics, and they are the radical left. Democrat Party is the radical left. This is not the party of our parents and grandparents. These are radical leftists. They are bent on power. They're bent on imposing socialism, which just destroys. It doesn't build anything. And unfortunately, our news media, the mainstream media, is supportive of this movement, and far too many Americans listen to that siren song.
You know, there's also a problem with what we used to call the deep state, the bureaucracy of the United States. Some of the most sensitive bureaucracies that we have, like the CIA. You had a senior CIA official posting not necessarily pro-Hamas, but putting the Palestinian flag on his website and suggesting that Palestine has to be liberated. Then you also have this Veterans Affairs official who was actually mocking the relatives of Israelis who were held hostage. I don't even want to show that soundbite because it's just disgusting the way she's doing it. But she's a senior official at Veterans Affairs. So what's happening? I mean, we have hired all of these far left radicals to be the basis of our bureaucracy.
The radical left has infiltrated every institution of this country, starting with the university system, and it just spread out from that point in time. We have a deep state. It's primarily populated with leftists that have corrupted these organizations, that did everything they could to take out President Trump. In the end, 2 impeachments. Now they're indicting him. This is what we have. We have an incredibly biased media. We have incredibly biased governmental officials and departments and agencies. this is a threat to our democracy.
Yeah, and neither one of us have a problem with free speech. We've been complaining about the government's attempts to silence free speech and on many websites in the past, but the tenor of some of these protests, we're having a big protest tonight with a lighting of the tree at Rockefeller Center. The police are expecting about 6,000 protesters to show up. But the tenor suggesting that Israel be wiped out as a nation, and some of the rhetoric coming from various city councils around the country that are against any kind of reference to pro-Israel support in what their legislatures are coming out with. There was an Oakland City Council that was protesting. Some of the protesters were against one of their suggestions, their statements about being pro-Israel. Here's what one of those protesters said at that city council meeting. Roll tape.
The notion that this was a massacre of Jews is a fabricated narrative. Many of those killed on October 7th,
Thank you, ma'am. Your time is up.
including children, were killed by the IDF.
So, Senator, that is the narrative now, that the IDF, the October 7th massacre, wasn't done by Hamas. It was done by Israelis killing Israelis. What do you make of this kind of rhetoric?
Again, radical leftism, there is no moral equivalence. The terrorists are Hamas. And Israel is the innocent bystander here, and they have every right to defend themselves and destroy Hamas, and that's what we need to support.
Well, these are Holocaust deniers right now. If you call October 7th a Holocaust, it's just horrific what we're hearing. It's pure anti-Semitism. Senator Johnson, thank you for standing up. We appreciate you being here, sir.
Have a good night.